The word evil is usually associated with the actions of adults. We often see children and teenagers as innocent, but that's not always true. In today's video, we're diving into a shocking topic: the most evil teens in the world. These young people have done terrible things to earn this disturbing title. Get ready to hear their stories. We'll uncover the dark actions that led to their notorious reputations. It's a wake-up call that reminds us, evil can wear many faces, including that of a teenager. Stay tuned as we reveal these chilling tales. Number 8. Daniel William Marsh. On April the 14th, 2013, 15-year-old Daniel William Marsh committed a horrific act. He broke into the home of Oliver Chip Northup Jr. and his wife, Claudia Maupin, and brutally attacked them in their bed. From a young age, Marsh had shown violent and antisocial behavior. Despite seeking help from various doctors and trying numerous medications, nothing seemed to help him. For years, Marsh fantasized about torturing and killing people. These dark urges only grew stronger as he matured, yet he found it easy to share them with his doctors. After years of holding back, on the night of April 13th, 2013, he decided it was time to act. He carefully plotted how to murder his victims and left his mother's house armed with a buck knife. Marsh idolized notorious serial killers like Ted Bundy. He understood the importance of covering his tracks if he wanted to kill again. Before leaving home, he dressed in black, donned a mask, and taped the bottoms of his shoes to avoid leaving footprints. He also wore gloves to prevent fingerprints. Between 2 and 3 a.m. on April 14th, he wandered the neighborhood looking for an open door or window. Eventually, he found one that led him directly into Maupin and Northup's home. Once inside, Marsh made his way to the master bedroom. For about 10 minutes, he watched the couple sleep while plotting their murder. When Maupin suddenly woke and saw him, she screamed. Marsh reacted immediately, attacking her with the knife and stabbing her fiercely. Northup awoke to the commotion, only to be struck down by Marsh as well. Even after he was sure they were dead, Marsh continued to stab their bodies and even dismembered them. He brutally explored their insides, removing organs in a shocking display of violence. Before leaving, Marsh placed a mobile phone in Maupin's stomach and a glass cup in Northup's. The brutality was staggering. Maupin endured 67 stab wounds, while Northup received 61. In total, they suffered 128 wounds. Marsh's careful planning left investigators with no clues at the crime scene. On the morning of April 14th, he was so proud of his actions that he bragged to friends and his girlfriend. He even showed a friend the bloody knife he used and kept the knife and stained clothes as trophies. However, his friends' horror prompted them to report him to school authorities when they noticed he was carrying a knife. During his interrogation, Marsh initially denied the murders, but after 3 hours, he confessed, admitting it was the most thrilling experience of his life. In September 2014, Marsh faced trial for the murders at age 17. He pleaded guilty by reason of insanity, yet a psychiatrist found him mentally ill, but sane. Ultimately, he received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 52 years. However, California law allows him to seek parole after just 25 years. Number 7. Greg Ramos. Grades have always caused tension between parents and their children. But for Gregory Ramos, a 15-year-old, a simple argument about a failing grade turned deadly. On November the 2nd, 2018, Ramos and his mother, 46-year-old Gail Clevenger, had a heated discussion about his D grade. Hours later, in a fit of rage, he attacked her. He began to strangle her with his bare hands and didn't stop for 30 long minutes until he was certain she was dead. Afterward, he put her body in a wheelbarrow and took it outside. He loaded her into the family van, showing no remorse for his horrific actions. Ramos then drove around for a while before deciding to bury her behind a church. Once he finished, he returned home and called two friends, Dylan Clyler and Brian Porras, for help. He wanted them to assist him in staging a burglary at his house. They agreed, and together they made it look like a break-in. After that, Ramos called emergency services to report the robbery. He told the police that he had come home from school to find his house ransacked and that his mother was missing. However, officers quickly noticed the family van still running in the driveway, raising their suspicions. Initially, the authorities believed his story, but after further investigation, they began to doubt him. Under pressure, Ramos changed his story and confessed to killing his mother during their argument over his grades. Later, he was tried as an adult. At just 17, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, abuse of a body, and tampering with evidence. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison, though his case could be reviewed after 25 years. However, he will remain on probation for the rest of his life. His friends, Clyler and Porras, faced charges as accessories after the fact. They weren't there during the murder, but they helped cover it up. During his trial, Ramos asked the judge to be lenient with them, admitting he had pulled them into his tragic situation. This case serves as a stark reminder of how a moment of anger can spiral out of control with devastating consequences. Number 6. Nicholas Cruz. On February 14, 2018, chaos erupted at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School when 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz opened fire. In a horrific act, he killed 17 people and injured 17 others. Cruz, a former student familiar with the school, blended in with the fleeing students to escape the scene. From a young age, Cruz displayed serious behavioral issues that only worsened as he grew older. Obsessed with guns and violence, he shared his frightening views, riddled with racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and xenophobia, on social media. Diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, he changed schools 6 times in 3 years. By 2014, he was placed in a special school for children with emotional or learning challenges. At this school, teachers noted Cruz regularly threatened his peers. Cruz's fascination with guns deepened in his teen years. His classmates recalled his anger management problems and inappropriate jokes about shooting. He even made comments hinting at a desire to attack places. In February 2017, Cruz took steps to turn his violent fantasies into reality. He entered a gun shop in Coral Springs, passed the required background check, and legally purchased an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle. This wasn't his only weapon. He had previously acquired several others, including a shotgun, all legally allowed for an 18-year-old in Florida. After the shooting, it was revealed that the local sheriff's office had received numerous calls about Cruz between 2008 and 2017. Some calls came from his brother or their home, warning authorities about his threats to shoot up a school, indicating he might be a potential shooter. Just weeks before the massacre, on January 5, 2018, the FBI received alarming information about Cruz's gun collection, erratic behavior, and intentions to kill. Tragically, this tip went uninvestigated. After the shooting, Cruz was arrested and faced serious charges. In March 2018, he was indicted on 17 counts of first-degree murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder. By November 2022, he was sentenced to 34 consecutive life sentences without parole, one for each victim affected by his actions. Number 5. Philip Chisum. October 22, 2013, began like any other day for Colleen Ritzer, a 24-year-old high school math teacher. She was known for her cheerful demeanor and dedication to her students. On this day, she praised 14-year-old Philip Chisum for his drawing skills. After school, she invited him to stay behind for extra help with an upcoming test. Unbeknownst to Ritzer, Chisum had sinister plans in mind that had nothing to do with math. After school dismissed, he followed her into a restroom. There, in a shocking turn of events, he attacked her with a box cutter. He robbed her of her credit cards and phone before brutally stabbing her 16 times. Once he finished, Chisum casually left the restroom, fetched a garbage bin, and stuffed Ritzer's lifeless body inside. He dragged the bin behind the school and dumped it in the woods, where he tried to hide her remains. After desecrating her body, he took Ritzer's belongings and ventured out to use her credit cards. That evening, Chisum went to a nearby town and bought a movie ticket with Ritzer's card, seemingly enjoying himself. However, his night of fun ended abruptly when police arrested him the next morning. Chisum still had Ritzer's blood on his hands, a chilling reminder of his crime. Investigators soon uncovered the disturbing truth. Chisum had meticulously planned the murder. Security footage revealed that he had entered the school that day carrying several bags. He brought a mask, gloves, a change of clothes, and the box cutter he used to commit the crime. The footage also showed him changing his outfit multiple times during the incident. The level of planning is terrifying, especially considering Chisum was just 14 years old. He faced serious charges, including armed robbery and murder. However, he was not tried until he turned 18. In February 2016, he was sentenced to at least 40 years in prison for his horrific actions. Number 4. Kyle Anger. Kyle Anger was just 18 when his life changed forever on October 18, 2017. That day, he and 4 other teenagers were playing a dangerous game. They tossed a large rock from an overpass, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. In a van below, Kenneth White, a 32-year-old man, was heading home from work. His friend, Steve Amthor, was driving. Suddenly, Amthor saw the huge rock hurtling towards them. There was no time to react. The rock smashed through the windshield, striking White in the face. It rebounded down his chest, leading to his untimely death. Anger was the oldest in the group, and the one who threw the fatal rock. With overwhelming evidence against him, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. In a plea deal, other charges were dropped. He was sentenced to serve between 3 and 20 years in prison, but received credit for the 740 days he had already spent in jail since his arrest. Along with his sentence, he was ordered to pay €6,500 in restitution to White's grieving family. The other teenagers involved, Mark Sikelski, Alexander Miller, Trevor Gray, and Mikadin Payne, sought to be tried as juveniles. Their request was denied. The judge deemed the crime too serious, and they faced trial as adults. In the end, Anger spent just 15 months in prison, released in January 2021. The other boys also faced time behind bars, but in May 2021, the Michigan Court of Appeals dropped their adult charges. Kenneth White's family was outraged by the leniency shown to the teenagers. White's father had hoped for much harsher penalties, believing the boys deserved 10-year sentences for their actions. The light sentences caused pain for the White family. However, defense attorney Mike Manley argued these teenagers had changed during their time in jail. They stayed out of trouble, pursued education, and learned from their mistakes. Now they have returned to society and hold jobs. For some, this shows that the criminal justice system can reform young offenders. Number 3. Craig Price. Craig Price grew up constantly in trouble with the law. His record was filled with serious offenses, including robbery, drug use, assault, breaking and entering, and stalking. As his list of crimes grew, Price joined a gang of like-minded delinquents known for their burglaries. What began as petty crimes quickly escalated into something much darker. In July 1987, At just 13 years old, Price committed his first murder during a break-in. Late at night, he entered the home of his neighbor, 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer, who was sleeping. In a shocking act of violence, Price took a knife from the kitchen and stabbed her more than 50 times. He left the scene filled with disbelief at what he had done. Despite extensive efforts, police could not find Spencer's killer, and the case went cold. Life went on for Price until he struck again, and this time the crime was even worse. 2 years later, high on drugs, he broke into the Heaton family's home. There he encountered the mother, Joan. In a panic, he brutally attacked her, ultimately strangling her to death. Her screams woke her daughters, Jennifer and Melissa, who were asleep in their rooms. In a fit of rage, Price grabbed a knife from the kitchen and turned it on the girls. He stabbed them multiple times and even used a stool to crush one of their skulls. During the struggle, Price injured his hand, a detail that would prove crucial later on. When the FBI entered the scene, they immediately noticed similarities between the Heaton murders and Rebecca Spencer's case. They suspected they were dealing with a serial killer who lived nearby, given the close proximity of the crimes. The investigators also speculated that the killer had left the Heaton home with an injured hand. As police interviewed Price, they spotted his hand injury. When they asked how he got hurt, he shrugged it off, saying he was drunk. The officers decided to give him a lie detector test, which he failed. This led them to search his home, where they found bloody clothes and knives. Price quickly confessed to the murders, showing no remorse. He claimed that his motive stemmed from racism he felt from white people. Shockingly, Craig Price is now known as the youngest serial killer in US history. Number 2. Sierra Halth. Sierra Halth was just 16 years old when she and her 18-year-old boyfriend, Aaron Guerrero, committed a shocking crime. They murdered Sierra's father, Daniel Halth. In April 2021, firefighters were called to a fire in Daniel's garage and discovered his lifeless body. An autopsy revealed the horrifying truth. Daniel had been stabbed over 70 times by his own daughter and her boyfriend. After the murder, the couple wrapped Daniel's body in a sleeping bag. They attempted to dismember him using a chainsaw and circular saw, but found it too messy and difficult. Instead, they decided to burn the body in the garage before fleeing the scene. Investigations uncovered that both Sierra's father and Aaron's parents strongly disapproved of their relationship. Daniel had even told Aaron to stay away from Sierra. Despite this, the couple began dating in June 2020. By December, their parents had banned them from seeing each other after discovering their elopement plans. Just a day before Daniel's body was found, Sierra and Aaron used his credit card to purchase a circular saw, bleach, lighter fluid, gloves, and other items from a nearby store. It seems they may have already committed the murder and were trying to cover their tracks. After taking Daniel's life, the couple appeared excited about their newfound freedom. They withdrew hundreds of euros from his account, reveling in their actions. Disturbingly, a video surfaced showing them laughing and joking about the murder. In it, Sierra said, "I don't know. Welcome back to our YouTube channel after day 3, after murdering somebody." Aaron replied, "Wow, don't put that on camera," revealing just how reckless they had become. Eventually, Sierra and Aaron were arrested and brought to trial. During one session, Sierra claimed her father had abused her both sexually and physically, alleging he forced her to drink alcohol. However, her claims were met with anger by Daniel's family, who painted her accusations as lies. They expressed their deep hurt over her actions, with some wanting her to face the death penalty. Both Sierra and Aaron pleaded guilty to multiple serious charges, including murder, robbery, and arson. They were sentenced to life in prison, with a possibility of parole after 22 years. The story of their crime serves as a tragic reminder of how relationships can spiral into darkness and violence. Number 1. Harvey Miguel Robinson. Harvey Robinson was a teenage serial killer known for stalking women before violently attacking them during home invasions. He was a calculated and meticulous murderer, always targeting victims when they were alone and ensuring he wore gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints. In August 1992, at just 17 years old, Robinson broke into the home of 29-year-old Joan Burghardt. He intended to rob her and only took $50 he found on her dresser. 4 days later, neighbors complained about the loud stereo coming from Burghardt's house. When the police arrived, they discovered her lifeless body in the living room. Burghardt had been brutally assaulted and beaten to death. A year later, Robinson claimed his second victim, a young girl named Charlotte Schmoyer. Early one morning, he abducted her while she was delivering newspapers. He took her into the woods and killed her. Robinson then targeted the home of John and Denise Sam Calley. He made off with John's gun collection and enjoyed their whiskey, but he had darker intentions. 3 days later, he broke into another house, hoping to assault and kill the homeowner. He found her sleeping with her boyfriend and decided to attack her child instead. Miraculously, the little girl survived the horrific encounter. About a week later, Robinson returned to the Sam Calley home, this time intent on killing Denise. He snuck in through an open window, but his movements awakened her. She tried to escape, but he caught her in the front yard. He pinned her down and began hitting her. Despite her struggles, he attempted to strangle her. Thankfully, her screams brought a neighbor running, forcing Robinson to flee. Police later found a butcher knife near the bathroom door, indicating he had come prepared to kill. Just a month after the Sam Calley incident, Robinson murdered Jessica Jean Fortney. Her body was discovered, lifeless, with blood splattered across the living room walls. Robinson returned to the Sam Calley home once more, determined to finish what he started with Denise. This time, he attempted to break in through the back door, but failed. The police recognized his obsession and stationed an officer to watch the house. Sure enough, Robinson returned, this time armed with a gun. The officer heard him trying to sneak in, but let him proceed to catch him in the act. When they confronted each other, Robinson opened fire. The officer returned shots, but Robinson managed to escape, even after being hit. He was eventually arrested later that day when a local hospital reported that he had come in for treatment. Robinson received 3 death sentences, along with a total of 97 years in prison. The actions of these teenagers are truly shocking. What act disgusted you the most? Let me know in the comments above. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to check out more videos we've made for you, click on one of them on the screen or check out the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.